Benavidez, Morrell. How does that fight go?
It's gonna be sick. See, those are the fights that need to happen, man. Those are the fights that the world wants to see. You know, I was talking about Bam, but there's no big names for Bam at 115.
David Benavidez versus David Morrell. The brutal showdown is almost here, and pros have shared their insights on the matchup. Paulie Malignaggi argued that while Canelo Alvarez controls the money in boxing, the best fight in the weight class is between David Benavidez and David Morrell. He believes both fighters are capable of beating Canelo, highlighting the imbalance between financial dominance and the actual top talent in the sport. Malignaggi criticized the boxing world, saying it's backwards that the most lucrative fights don't necessarily involve the best matchups.
But the biggest problem is this. All the money is in Canelo Alvarez, but the best fight is probably Benavidez versus Morrell. You know what I mean? Like the best fight in terms of the top, who are actually the top two guys in this weight class are probably Benavidez and Morrell. I think they both beat Canelo. You know, it's funny because all the money's with Canelo, so everything revolves around Canelo. And this is why this sport is backward.
Chris Algieri, a former world champion, is giving the edge to Benavidez. He said, "I think at 175 I would favor Benavidez. At 168, I may favor Morrell. He is fantastic. Regardless, this fight, whatever weight class that it happens at, it's a very tough fight. It's a very close fight. I'm very happy it's on the docket. I can't wait until we get there because you never know in this sport. It's an exciting time that we've got these young guys fighting each other." Leonard Ellerby expressed that he expects the upcoming fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell to be an exhilarating 50-50 battle. He believes it will be an intense matchup with both fighters likely hitting the canvas at some point, possibly early in the fight, and both likely to experience moments of injury or danger. Ellerby emphasized the back-and-forth nature of the fight, as both fighters are hungry for victory and eager to make a statement. With plenty of trash talk in the build-up, he feels this fight will be one where the fans come out as the real winners.
I anticipated this to be a very 50-50 kind of fight. I expected somebody's going to hit the canvas, and it probably might be early, and the other person might get hurt in the fight. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows in this particular fight because both guys really, really want it bad, and want to make a big statement. It's going to be a lot of trash talking with the build-up. So this is one of those kind of fights that the fans will actually win.
Tim Bradley believes David Morrell still needs more experience, noting that he wasn't impressed with Morrell's previous performance. He feels Benavidez has the upper hand, as he's not just a pressure fighter, but also capable of boxing and moving when necessary. Bradley thinks Morrell will struggle against Benavidez's versatility, as the former champion can do a bit of everything in the ring, making him a tough challenge for Morrell.
I still think Morrell still needs a little bit more seasoning, to be honest with you. I wasn't too fond of his last fight.
It's part of why
I really
I'm
was.
Benavidez. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't too fond. Benavidez can do a little bit of everything. We only see him as being a pressure type of assassin type of guy, throwing quick combinations and really, just stepping on the gas and squashing guys. But, he can move and box if he wants to as well. He can. I've seen him, so he has that degree. So he can do a little bit of everything in there, which makes me believe that, Morrell's gonna struggle against that.
Jose Benavidez Jr. expressed his frustration over the heated confrontation between David Benavidez and David Morrell at the press conference in Miami, particularly criticizing Morrell for throwing the belt. He felt it was an insulting move, questioning why Morrell didn't handle the situation differently if he was truly upset. Benavidez Jr. suggested that Morrell's actions didn't match the tough persona he projects, calling it a sign of poor character. He was shocked by the response, emphasizing that such actions reflect badly on Morrell, especially during the build-up to a major fight.
There's been a lot of bad blood with this build-up because of what's happened at the press conferences. You as a bystander, what'd you make of what happened in Miami?
I wasn't there though, that's the thing.
Morrell threw the belt at him, David ducked.
I don't know why the belt. That's something you don't do. What if there would have been, someone say he was a kid or something? If you don't do that, and that's how you know he's not how he says he is. He walks around like he's from the hood, like he's gangster. He's like, none of that. Why are you gonna throw a belt? Why not pass the belt down to the side and go handle it? If you're really mad, if you're really about that, I mean, it is what it is.
Did that type of response surprise you, from him?
Just made me seem like he's a.
Gabe Rosado discussed the February 1st fight between David Morrell and David Benavidez with Fight Hub TV. He favored Benavidez but warned not to underestimate Morrell, who needed the fight more. Rosado described the match as a significant opportunity for Morrell, and if he wins, it will elevate him, as he had not been a target for other fighters. He also praised Benavidez's willingness to take the fight and predicted a tough, punishing battle, where both fighters would land heavy shots and test each other's durability. David Morrell versus David Benavidez. I favor Benavidez, but you can't sleep on Morrell, said Gabe Rosado to Fight Hub TV. Benavidez didn't have to take this fight. Morrell was the one that needed this fight. Morrell kind of hit the jackpot, so if he can win this fight, he's there because nobody was really calling Morrell out. So that kind of shows what kind of Benavidez is. He's like, okay, whatever, let's run it. Nobody acts like that with Benavidez, said Rosado about Morrell trash-talking Benavidez during their face-off. It's going to be a firefight. They're both going to clash. It's going to be a matter of who can take it, because they're both going to land shots. Rosado stated that while Morrell hits harder, Benavidez wins with his punch volume. He believes the fight will come down to whether power or volume prevails, as Morrell likely can't match Benavidez's output. I think Morrell is the bigger puncher of the two, but Benavidez gets you out with the volume, said Rosado. So, what's going to win? Is it going to be power, or is it going to be volume? That's what it's going to come down to, because I don't think Morrell is going to be able to match Benavidez's volume. Stephen Edwards praised David Morrell's strength and size, noting that he's impressed with the Cuban fighter. However, he pointed out that Morrell's size advantage at 168 pounds has allowed him to dominate smaller opponents, which has prevented him from fully showcasing his boxing IQ and other skills. Edwards believes Morrell hasn't been tested enough to demonstrate his full range of abilities, particularly in terms of strategy and adaptability.
I'm very impressed with David Morrell, but he kind of relies on his forcefulness, his strength, his size. I mean, he's way too big to be fighting 68 pounds. I've been around. He's a big guy, you know. So I'm very, very impressed with him. But a lot of the guys he's been fighting are so much smaller than he is where he doesn't have to go into his bag of tricks and rely on other things like his IQ and things like that. And I'm not saying he doesn't have it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Lonnie B shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell, acknowledging that it's going to be a tough challenge for Benavidez. He praised Morrell for his skills, describing him as a big, slick fighter with a dangerous Cuban style. According to Lonnie B, Morrell's ability to punch and move with excellent footwork makes him a tricky opponent, even for someone as imposing as Benavidez. He noted that Morrell's style, which is both offensive and elusive, will present real challenges for Benavidez, especially given Morrell's ability to avoid punishment while landing clean shots.
Tough fight. David Morrell is really good. He's really, really good. Yeah, he's good. I can't even. He's good. You know?
You kind of giving me a face like you don't know who wins that fight.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
Because David Morrell is big too. He's big for super middleweight too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's big. He can punch. He's slick. Real got that Cuban style. What he Cuban?
Yeah.
Like real slick.
But offensive with it.
Offensive with it, and those styles are tough for anybody to fight. For anybody to fight.
Even the Mexican monster.
Even the Mexican monster.
Lonnie B also pointed out the difference in fighting styles between the two. While Benavidez uses his size and strength to wear down opponents, he isn't as slick or elusive as Morrell. Lonnie B emphasized that Benavidez's ability to walk his opponents down might not be as effective against Morrell, who has the skills to counterpunch and move around the ring. This, combined with Morrell's power, makes it a dangerous fight for Benavidez. Lastly, Lonnie described the matchup as a 50-50 fight in his opinion.
Especially with Dave, with that style he got, David's really not slick. He just uses his size to wear guys down. He walk him down, and he's so big, you hitting him, but you really can't get him good because he's too big.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With David Morrell, he would really have to worry about some heat coming back being thrown at him, and David Morrell got real good feet. He got real good feet, so I think that would give David some trouble, and he can punch.
So would you favor David or Canelo in that sense? Oh, and I mean David as in Benavidez? No.
It's a 50-50 fight. David Morrell and David Benavidez is a 50-50 fight, in my opinion.
Elijah Vines expressed his belief that David Benavidez will dominate the upcoming fight against David Morrell, despite liking both fighters' styles and personalities. Vines, who resonates with Benavidez's boxer-puncher style, feels that Benavidez's experience and skill set will be too much for Morrell to handle. While acknowledging Morrell's talent, he is confident that Benavidez will execute his game plan effectively, using his strength and abilities to control the fight and ultimately come out on top.
Benavidez is liked Benavidez. Always liked him. So I feel like
That's because you're a boxer puncher. You love boxing punches.
Absolutely, but I don't know. I can resonate with him. Like I like his style. You know, I like his personality. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to be a good fight. But I feel like Benavidez is going to dominate.
Dominate?
Dominate, yeah. Some people might call me crazy because I had this conversation, but I don't know. I see a lot of stuff. I see a lot of things that Benavidez is going to be able to execute with a fighter like that.
Elijah Vines shared that he doesn't believe David Benavidez will stop David Morrell in their upcoming fight, but he expects Benavidez to dominate the majority of the rounds. While acknowledging that Morrell might have some success in certain moments, Vines feels that Benavidez's overall strength and skill will shine through. Ultimately, he predicts the fight will go the distance, with Benavidez securing a unanimous decision victory.
I don't think he's going to stop him. I think he's going to dominate majority of the rounds. Not all the rounds, but I feel like he's going to dominate, but it's going to be by unanimous decision. Dan
Rafael referred to the fight between David Morrell and David Benavidez as possibly the best matchup in the light heavyweight division, excluding Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. He stated, "February 1st, David Morrell versus David Benavidez to me anyway. Probably the best fight you can make in the light heavyweight division that does not involve either Artur Beterbiev or Dimitri Bivol." Robert Garcia talked about the upcoming fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell, calling it a must-see showdown. He emphasized that these are the types of matchups fans want to watch. Garcia pointed out that while Benavidez and Morrell are both moving up in weight to pursue bigger opportunities, this fight is exactly what boxing needs. He mentioned that while there aren't many big names for fighters at lighter divisions like 115 and 118 pounds, this battle between two strong fighters at a higher weight is just what the sport requires.
Benavidez, Morrell. How does that fight go?
It's gonna be sick. See, those are the fights that need to happen, man. Those are the fights that the world wants to see. You know, I was talking about Bam, but there's no big names for Bam at 115. 118, maybe a couple. 122, maybe one day, 3 years from now. But Benavidez, you know, and Morrell, they both move up to a division where they're chasing the big fights and now they're fighting each other. That's just fucking ass, man. That's gonna be a sick ass fight. Can't wait for that one.
Garcia also shared his opinion on how the fight might unfold, admitting it's difficult to pick a winner. Both fighters have remarkable power and aggression, which makes the matchup exciting. While Garcia respects Morrell's abilities, he ultimately favors Benavidez, calling him the likely victor of the fight. Regardless of the outcome, Garcia is thrilled about the matchup, saying it will be a fantastic fight that proves to the boxing world that the biggest fights should happen.
Both they're gonna put up a badass fight, man. I don't know, man. It's a hard pick, but I'm going with Benavidez, definitely.
Mexico.
Definitely have to go with Benavidez, but it'll be a badass fight. Yeah. I'm glad they're doing it. See, they're showing everybody else, you know, that the fights could, you know, they need to happen. We need to see them.
Jesse Hart pointed out several weaknesses in David Morrell's last fight, particularly his tendency to slow down after the 9th round. Hart noted that Morrell can be vulnerable to being clipped if an opponent lands at the right moment. He also mentioned concerns about Morrell's habits outside the ring and whether they could catch up to him. Hart is watching closely to see if Morrell has improved since that fight and believes Benavidez could exploit these weaknesses in their upcoming bout.
Dave Morrell, I'm looking, has he grown? Can we get him? That last fight, I seen a lot of weaknesses in him. A lot of weaknesses. I'm looking at have he grown from that fight that he went 12 rounds for the first time in his ever career. You know what I mean? Around the 9th, I seen he start slowing down. I seen you can touch him on his chin. You can clip him if you get him at the right time. He slows down around about the 9th round. And David Benavidez, his living habits outside the ring, did that catch up to him? I'm watching for all that. And I'll be looking February 1st to see if my prediction is right.
Caleb Plant shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell, noting that the fight is a big one due to their contrasting styles. Plant pointed out that Benavidez is very aggressive and puts his punches together well, while Morrell, though also skilled, is a bit more crafty and passive in his approach. Plant acknowledged that both fighters bring something unique to the table, making it an exciting matchup. He emphasized that this fight has a lot of potential, and he's looking forward to seeing how it unfolds.
You know, their styles are different. Southpaw, right-handed, you know, one puts their punches together very well, and so does David Morrell, but he's a little more crafty. Well, he's a little more maybe passive in his approach. You know, I'll say that. And but that's a big fight. You know, that's one I'm excited for. So.
Jose Benavidez Sr. pointed out that David Morrell lacks experience compared to David Benavidez, noting that while Benavidez throws a lot of combinations, Morrell throws fewer punches. He believes Benavidez will apply constant pressure, something Morrell hasn't faced before. What I see is a lack of experience. David Benavidez throws a lot of combinations, a lot of punches, and Morrell throws a little bit of punches, said Jose Benavidez Sr. in media reports. Not that many, and I think David is going to try and press him. Pressure, 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 and he's never been pressured like that before, added Benavidez Sr. Demetrius Andrade shared his perspective on David Morrell, noting that he hasn't watched enough of his fights to fully evaluate his abilities. He acknowledged Morrell's size and decent speed, but pointed out that he can be a bit wild with his punches, which he believes will improve as he gains more experience. Andrade emphasized that Morrell needs to tighten up his technique to become more effective at the elite level.
It's tough because I haven't really watched David Morrell fight by fight. I don't, to really see what he has. I seen maybe like one or two of his fights. I was like, okay, he's a big kid. He got some decent speed, but he's a little wild with his punches. You know, that comes with experience, of course, when he'll start tightening it up. Is he tight right now to be able, because David does have a good...
Andrade also highlighted David Benavidez's significant advantage in reach, which makes him difficult to hit, especially for fighters like Morrell who throw wide punches. Benavidez's long arms allow him to block incoming attacks effectively, which would likely frustrate Morrell. Andrade believes that Morrell will need to be much more precise and set up clean, accurate shots to break through Benavidez's defense and succeed in the fight.
His arms are long. Listen, his arms are long. To me, you know what I'm saying? Morrell's bigger than me, so he might have long. But when you're throwing punches at him, his arms are so long, it's so tough to hit him, especially if you're coming off wide. You got to really pinpoint the shots with David. I don't know if Morrell has that in him. And I'm a sharpshooter. And David was able to, like, you know, with his length, be able to, like, block a lot of the shots I was throwing as well, too. So, I mean, you really got to set him up with some clean walk-in trap shots.
Jesus Ramos recently shared his thoughts on the potential matchup between David Benavidez and David Morrell, acknowledging both fighters' impressive abilities. Ramos praised Morrell for his talent and amateur background, but he believes Morrell still lacks the professional experience that Benavidez brings to the table. He pointed out that Benavidez has already faced tough opponents like Andre Dirrell and Caleb Plant, gaining invaluable experience in the process. Ramos feels that while Morrell is highly skilled, his lack of experience in longer, tougher bouts might hurt him, especially if he faces frustration as he did in his last fight.
Yeah, no, man. All connections aside, all friendships aside, I like both guys. I like both guys' styles. I think they're both very exciting. I've learned a lot from Morrell. He's a southpaw himself, and I've learned a couple things from him watching the fight. But I just feel like he's lacking the experience, you know, that Benavidez already has. He fought Andrade, he fought Caleb Plant. Those are tough guys, man, and he beat them. And Morrell, you know, he's extremely talented. He's got a lot of amateur experience, but I still feel like, and I think he kind of showed it in that last fight where he needs that pro experience. He needs a tricky, cagey guy to take him some rounds, because he got a little frustrated there, you know, in that last fight. So I still feel like he lacks that experience.
Ramos gave the advantage to Benavidez, stating that his experience and ability to handle tough rounds would likely be the deciding factor. He sees Morrell coming out strong early in the fight, but ultimately believes Benavidez's experience will help him take control in the later rounds, edging out a win as the fight progresses.
And I feel like Benavidez has been there and he has done that. So I think that I give the edge to Benavidez in that aspect. And I feel like Morrell might come out strong, but I see Benavidez edging that out in the later rounds.
So what are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comments section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.